lesson. A variety of papers, so you can see here I've got lots of different wrapping paper scraps, I've got bits of wallpaper, I've got some kind of card and brown paper that I've got at the recycling. I've got some packaging that I thought had quite a nice pattern. I quite like this kind of leafy pattern. This catalogue came through my door and it's got lots of kind of blocks of colour and text and pictures, so I thought I could use that. Some tissue paper. I even found some of these old envelopes that I forgot I had, like stationery sets. So basically just any scraps of paper. You can see here I've gone for a really big mix just to kind of give me lots of options. Okay, if you've got them, you can use paints like you can see there, but you don't need them. Really all you need are scraps of paper, a pencil, pen, Pritt stick and scissors. If you don't have Pritt stick, don't worry, you don't need to stick it down. You could always just arrange your shapes when we're done and then take a photograph and submit that instead. The last thing that I've got here, just that I thought would help you out, is I've just printed off a few of Michelle Keck's artworks, just so I've got that as a bit of inspiration. You can print them or you can keep it on your screen just to give you an idea of how the artist works and how she kind of splits different sections up into different colours. And then the animal I've chosen is a giraffe, because obviously apart from my dog, giraffes are my favourite animals. So I've gone for a clip art outline, because I thought that'd be quite easy to draw. But then I've also got a picture of a more realistic, a photo of a giraffe, just so I get a better sense of where all the different tones are and the patterns, because obviously this is very empty and plain. Okay, so the first thing I need to do to create something a bit like this Michelle Keck work is think about the shape of my animal. Okay, and I'm going to have to draft that out. Now, you don't have to be too careful with this. Okay, you're not looking at adding lots of detail right now, you are looking at adding the main shapes. So I'd always advise as well to go slightly bigger with some of this, because collage, the smaller you get, it's quite fiddly and it's quite tough to get your scissors into all the little nooks and crannies. Okay, so try and keep it nice and big, maybe fill your page. Again, you don't have to work on the page in your sketchbook. You can see here on her works they're on kind of collage background, so you can work on any other paper. You might decide you're going to take a big roll of wrapping paper and use that, or this one here, I thought you could maybe use an Amazon box or a package that's kind of come through the door. You don't have to use a sketchbook. If you want to, you're welcome to, but you don't need to. Okay, so my first job is I'm going to start to get the basic shapes. Now if I look at this giraffe, I can see that the main head shape, without any of the horns or anything, is kind of a bit like a kind of curvy triangle, and then I've got this kind of semicircle that comes out on both sides, maybe a bit flatter than a semicircle actually, a little bit underneath. We've got the neck coming out here, nice long swooping neck for that giraffe. So you can see all I'm doing at the minute is blocking it out, my basic shapes. Okay, it does not look very accurate at the minute, it doesn't need to. Okay, again, just rough shapes. So I can see now that that needs to come out further, and I'm just building this up. Okay, so give some nice big ears on there. And if it goes off the page, it goes off the page, don't worry about it. Don't panic and try and squash it on, okay, because then you'll end up with a really funny looking animal. And now I'm going to go back and refine. Okay, and what I'll do, I'll speed this bit up a little bit, because otherwise we could be here forever. So bear with me. About being super accurate. Okay, if you look at Keck's work, they don't look like animals you see in the real world, so as long as you've got your basic shapes, that's all you need. Don't stress too much about accuracy. So my next thing that I find helps when you're doing a collage like this is just to quite carefully use harder pressure, and I know it's very rare that I ask you to do that, and just go over your line work nice and careful, don't rush it. Right, now that I've got a nice bold outline, I'm going to start with my basic shape, or my larger shape. So you can see here on Keck's work, for example, on the pig, there's a large section here that she's decided is the main shape, or the main background shape if you like, and she's done that all in one colour. Okay, with the dog, a little bit different because it's white, but you can still see there's nice big blocks, same with the cow. Okay, so I'm going to think about my giraffe picture, and the main kind of value, tonal value on this giraffe is it's lighter, and then the detail on top's darker. So having a look through my little pile of wonderful scraps, I think I might use this nice spotty paper for my background of my giraffe. Now, first thing I'm going to do, really carefully, just rip a nice big section, make sure it's bigger than my page, place that over the top. Okay, now you might be able to see, if you've pressed hard enough and your paper's light enough, the outline of your shape like I can see here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just trace over quite roughly. Okay, it doesn't need to be anything big, and you can see I'm going around main areas that I don't want to be the same colour. So let's just put a little in there for the nostrils, same again here, and then again. So I'm just doing a very rough block shape. Okay, if you can't see through your paper, don't worry. You can just try and do it roughly by eye. Okay, this is just makes it a bit easier for you. So I've got my basic giraffe background there, okay? And I think what I'll do, I'm going to use this then to build up on top of, okay? So you might lose a little bit of the detail that you've drawn, but I'm just going to carefully cut this out. Okay, so remember, you always make it smaller first because it's much harder to cut out from a big sheet, so get rid of some of that excess. If you're being very eco-friendly like I should have been, should have done it right at the edge, but I will use those scraps either later on or in a different project. You know me, I don't throw anything away. Now remember, when you're cutting, you move the paper, not the scissors, when you want to get a nice smooth curve. Some bits I've ripped for added texture, and I've not been too careful. I've looked at where on the real giraffe, say it's got this dark patch inside the ears, so I've tried to use darker tones. Thought about the eyelashes because I think they're really sweet. Looked at how much pattern Keck uses in her work, so I've tried to include some big bold patterns. And for the hair on the mane of the giraffe, I quite like the idea of it having a bit of texture, standing up a little bit. So again, I'm going to find something that's quite dark in comparison, maybe this random page of potatoes. Don't think giraffes eat potatoes. And I'm going to cut it quite thin. Maybe think about, yeah, get my sizing right. Again, you'll see when I'm doing things like sizing, I just line it up with the edge of the page and I snip. I'm not thinking too carefully about it. Yeah, that'll do me. Now, one of the techniques you can do to add a bit more texture if you've got something that's got quite a lot of hair, is if you just make little cuts, don't go all the way at the bottom, just little cuts at different intervals. Again, they don't have to be exact, they don't have to be the same. You can have some thick bits, some thin bits, but make sure you do not go all the way at that bottom, otherwise you're just going to end up with confetti. And you can see there, I can now kind of flick that out and use it as fringing for the giraffe. And if I stuck that down, I'd then be able to pick some of that back up and it would actually look quite cool as a mane. Okay, so here's my finished product, my final outcome, and you can see hopefully the links between my artist and my outcome. If you have a little look, you can see those pen details actually really make a difference, help add a lot of definition. I've rubbed out all of my outlines. You might still be able to see them a little bit, but we needed to do them heavy to be able to trace that basic shape. Okay, I've got my nice little bits of fringe in here. I've got a lovely pile of mess here, so you have to apologise to people at home for that, but hopefully you'll have lots of fun making the mess. And you can see here, I just thought I'd add a nice title, inspired by Keck, and I've used that Booth's leaflet, catalogue, whatever you want to call it, that came through the door just to find those letters. Okay, if I didn't have those letters, that's fine, I could cut them out of a bit of paper, or you can just write it in a fancy font. It's totally up to you. But hopefully you're going to really enjoy making this little mini project. So that's it.